Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'll be giving you a brief explanation of essay 265, which deals with communication of deficiencies in internal control to management and those charged with governance. So the key points in this particular standard are: the first one is the objective of the auditor, and then what is the definition of deficiency in internal control and significant deficiency, and then what are the factors that needs to be considered in determining whether a deficiency in control is a significant deficiency or not, and then we also need to consider the indicators of significant deficiencies, and then communication of the significant and other deficiencies, and then what shall be included in the communication of such deficiencies. So first let's come down to the objective of the auditor. The objective of the auditor would be to communicate those deficiencies that he has identified as significant or as major deficiencies to the board of directors and the management as appropriate. So the objective of the auditor would be to communicate those deficiencies. And next let's come to the definition of what is a deficiency in internal control. So the deficiency means the control that is there has failed to prevent, detect or correct the misstatements, or the control which should have been there does not exist at all. So that is deficiency. And what is a significant deficiency? A deficiency which is so material that it attracts the attention of the board of directors or those charged with governance. So it needs their attention, and that is why it's called a significant deficiency. And with that we have covered objective and the definitions. Next jump to factors which need to be considered, which is there here. So this page and the continuation here, this lists out what are the factors which we need to consider in determining whether a deficiency is a significant deficiency or not. So the small form or the short form which you can use for this is Leavasific. So here it is, Leavasific or SS or whatever it is. So the first one is L, which is likelihood of that deficiency leading to material misstatement. And next one is E, which is the financial statement amounts that are exposed to such deficiencies. VA is the volume of activity in such accounts. And then next one is S, is susceptibility to loss or fraud of the related assets or liabilities. And then I is importance of those controls in the financial reporting process. And then we'll move on to this page, which has what are the important controls. So the importance of controls, so this particular point, it has certain sub points here. So that is general monitoring controls, that is general controls, and then controls over prevention and detection of fraud, and then controls over selection and application of accounting policies. So these are certain major or very important controls, and if there is any deficiency in these controls, we can consider that as a significant deficiency. And then the next point, which is I, which is interaction of that control which is deficient with other deficiencies that already exist. And then F is the frequency of the exceptions detected. And then SC, which is subjectivity and complexity of determining the estimated amounts. So this is Leavasific, which is L is likelihood, E is exposed amounts, VA is volume of activity, and then S is susceptibility, and then I is important controls or the importance of such controls, and then another I is interaction with other deficiencies. F is frequency of the errors or exceptions that are detected, and then SC is subjectivity and complexity. So these are the factors which we need to consider in determining whether a deficiency is significant or not. And then the next point is coming in paragraph number A7, which is certain indicators of deficiency. So if these conditions are present, it means it is a kind of an indicator that there may be deficiencies in the controls. So the first one, so this we can remember it by the short form ICE, AII, DMMIO. That is ICE, I, DMMIO. So ICE is where ineffective control environment exists, and then AI is absence of a risk assessment process, and the next one I is evidence of ineffective risk assessment process. So the first one, ineffective control environment, then the absence of a risk assessment process, and next one, ineffective risk assessment process or ineffective response to the identified risks, and then the next one is disclosure of a material misstatement as a prior period item, and then IO is inability of the management to oversee preparation of financial statements. So this is ICE, AII, DMM, and then IO. So these are indicators of significant deficiencies. With that we have completed even this point and this point. Now we'll move on to communication part. So paragraph number 10 says that the auditor shall communicate at an appropriate level of responsibility on a timely basis. So point A and point B, there are 2 points. So point A states that significant deficiencies shall be communicated to those charged with governance, and then point B states that other deficiencies which require the attention of the management shall be communicated to the management. So this is significant, so it is communicated to those charged with governance, and these are not so material but still deficiencies nonetheless, so they will be going to the management. And then point number 11, paragraph number 11 states that the contents of that letter of weakness. So the contents, the first thing shall be, you can remember it by using this formula, that is DESIP CICID. So the first one is description of the deficiency and explanation of its potential effects. Then SI, which is sufficient information to provide the which states that the purpose of the audit, and then CIC, which is what consideration has been given by the auditor to the internal controls and what was the purpose for which it was considered. And then ID is the fact that only identified deficiencies have been communicated. There may be other deficiencies which have not been identified and thus not communicated. So DE is description and explanation, and then SI is sufficient information, and then P is what was the purpose of the audit. CIC is for what purpose the internal controls have been considered, and then ID is identified deficiencies. And next we'll move on to the last point, that is here, communication of significant deficiencies to management. So as we have seen here, that we'll be communicating significant deficiencies to those charged with governance and other deficiencies which are not so significant to the management. There may be certain cases where management is itself involved in that particular inefficiency, or management is incompetent for that particular purpose. So we'll bypass the management and directly communicate with the board of directors in such a case. And there's one more small point given here, that is the communication to those charged with governance, that is the board of directors, will be compulsorily in writing, and the communication of other deficiencies to the management, this may be done either orally or in writing. So that summarizes this standard, and we have covered all the key points under this standard, and hope it helped you. Thanks for watching.